إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونصلي على الأنبياء والمرسلين من آدم إلى محمد عليه السلام لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. All praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask for His help, we seek His forgiveness, and we ask for Allah's blessing for each and every messenger, from the first prophet Adam to the last prophet Muhammad alayhi salam. We do not differentiate between Allah's messengers. And we ask for Allah's blessing and mercy and forgiveness for each and every believing man and woman. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اما بعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, يا أيها الذين آمنوا ادخلوا في السلم كافة. We have heard this ayah many times. All you who believe, enter into Islam completely, fully. Submit yourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wholeheartedly, without any pick and choose, without any if, then, but. So despite this clear instruction, we tend to respond differently to various orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which are present in the Quran. We tend to downplay or push aside some orders while emphasize others. And if we try to analyze it, because it's an educated community, you'll find a cultural pattern or pattern among various cultures. For example, in subcontinent where I've spent some part of my life, eating pork or khinzir is considered the worst sin, a disgusting act, filthy act. But consuming alcohol does not generate the same hatred. Why this contrast, I still fail to understand, but every culture has some reasons behind these type of behavior. Among some cultures, you will see that zina or fornication is not emphasized as much as, for example, homosexuality, although both are sins and bad sins. Among some other cultures, you will see that hijab of women is emphasized much more than men cheating in relationships. All are sins, and equally bad. There's a popular myth among most of the Muslims that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only punished those nations in the past who were indulged in major sins, grave sins. And common example is for Prophet Lut alayhi salam, nation of Lut, which were destroyed. But is this what Quran tells us? Answer is no, but you do not have to agree to this conclusion. You must study Quran yourselves. Tell me, what was the charge sheet, the indictment against people of Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam, also known as Ashabul Aika, people of the wood, people of forest, people of thicket. Prophet comes to them and tells them what? وَوَزِنُوا بِالْقِسْطَاسِ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ. That was the main order. Yes. And weigh with a straight balance, the scale, the weighing machine. فَأَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ وَالْمِيزَانَ وَلَا تَبْخَسُوا النَّاسَ أَشْيَاءَهُمْ. Right? So don't cheat in trading. And do not take something which does not belong to you, which belongs to others, just by cheating. Allah is not talking here about taking something by force. Taking something by force is, of course, a heinous crime in every culture, even among non-Muslim cultures. In fact, that some scholars have prescribed is irhab, that they have prescribed capital punishment for if somebody takes something by force, either wealth, even honor. If an honor is taken by force, some scholars prescribe capital punishment, which is death sentence. But here Allah said, no, don't cheat in trading. Yet, the fate of nation of Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam was no different than fate of nation of Prophet Lut alayhi salam. Both nations were destroyed and wiped off the face of the earth. Yes, one received a rain of stones, other one received an earthquake. And it's not in the Quran, but some books put the detail that earth shattered open, it swallowed the entire nation of Prophet Shu'aib, entire community alive, and then it closed up on them. So the fate, the end result was not different. The crime was that majority of the people disobeyed Allah. So what it tells us is that no matter how small an order of Allah may be, it cannot be ignored. That nation was also given some other instructions, but those are very common instructions. وَلَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ بَعْدَ إِصْلَاحِهَا, or وَلَا تَقْعُدُوا بِكُلِّ صِرَاطٍ تُعِدُونَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, which means do not sit in the streets or the corners and intimidate people from the path of Allah. This was given to many other nations as well, which did not receive azab of Allah. So it appeared the major indictment was don't cheat in trade. Now, tell me if cheating in trade, cheating in business is considered a grave sin, a major sin by any Muslim community around the globe. Unfortunately, it is not. When the individual person sins, it is not the same as the majority of a community sinning or disobeying or disregarding the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the Quran says even about Prophet Adam, وَأَصَىٰ آدَمَ رَبَّهُ فَغَوَىٰ, Asa Ma'asiyah, right? That he disobeyed his Rabb. But when the majority of the community disobeys the Rabb, then it becomes mutiny. So it's a rebellion. And the punishment for rebellion is different. And the divine law, divine sunnah is وَإِن تَتَوَلَّوْا يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ. When you disobey Allah in majority, it doesn't say the word, the meaning is majority, but this is what we learn from Quran. When the entire nation becomes disobedient, then Allah says, I will replace you with another nation, with another group of people, and they will not be like you. So in the remaining khutbah, we'll try to remind ourselves with some of the forgotten orders which are present in Quran. We follow it, but we tend to take it very lightly. So it's just a reminder for all of us, including myself. Previously, we discussed one such order about fulfilling the oaths. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَأَوْفُوا بِالْعَهْدِ إِنَّ الْعَهْدَ كَانَ مَسْئُولًا. Fulfill your promises. You will be held accountable for the promises that you make. Promises made to our friends, our family, our children, our colleagues. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu awfu bil uqud. Similar ayah. Fulfill your contracts. Contracts between businesses, agreements between groups, treaties between nations. We've got to try to fulfill it as much as possible within our limits. If we are employed by someone, then we have contracted our time, our knowledge, our skills to the employer. So any shortcoming, not just because we lack it. No, if we have the ability but we do not give it to the employer, then no matter what, if employer tells us or not, catches us or not, Allah will hold us accountable because it's a contract. The most profound and deep-rooted and solid contract which any adult male or female signs in their lifetime is a marriage contract. It's called Aqd al-Nikah. Aqd means contract. It used to be historically never written. And even today, it barely contains a clause about the mahr or the dowry. That's it. Yet it contains several hidden clauses which are present, not on paper, but are understood by all cultures somewhat differently, but it's understood that they are present in that marriage contract, in the nikah contract. Husband will be provider and protector, provide food and shelter, and protect the family. It's never written in the contract. You will never see a nikah contract where this clause is written, but it is present in that contract. Wife will look after the children at home. It's never written, but it is understood to be present. Clauses for loyalty, faithfulness. These are never written, but every culture believes these are present. That both spouses will remain loyal, will remain faithful to each other. The expectation for intimacy is the default clause of any nikah, any marriage contract. Again, these are not written on paper, but always present because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ وَالْبَنِينَ, and the list goes on. Allah says, I have put this into your DNA. What is it? حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ, attraction or intimacy with women. So it's part of every marriage contract. Cannot deny it. Yet one or both spouses, occasionally, they violate the hidden clauses. Mahr, rarely we see complaints about that, but other clauses which are understood to be present but not written on the paper, one or the other spouse, they violate those clauses. The result is broken families. And if they have underage children, all the studies in the world show that the growth and future of those underage children is degraded significantly. No one will disagree with this. So again, we should never forget that whichever spouse breaks or violates these clauses of a marriage contract, we may get away in this world, but Allah will surely hold us accountable in the next life. Because Allah said, "Inna al-ahda kana mas'oola." We are answerable, and Allah will ask. Allah orders us to be just and fair in every matter. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu kunu qawwamina bil qist. I'dilu huwa aqrabu lit taqwa. So ayahs and ayahs and ayahs on this topic. So doing justice and being fair is an order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We think that such orders are for the judges in courts or for the people of power. No. Each one of us, each person has been made a khalifa within his or her domain. And we must implement justice within our sphere of influence. Not outside, but at least within our sphere of influence. Do we do justice at home with our children? If we express more love towards one child and not the other, is this justice? If we spend more money on the schooling and education of a son, but are reluctant to spend the same on daughter's education, is this justice? And again, all of us, we are good in creating reasons and justifications. Our children may not complain in this world, but Allah will hold us accountable, because this is an order of Allah which we are obeying. Allah orders us not to be wasteful, and that is a very strong order, by the way. We take it lightly. وَلَا تُبَذِّرْ تَبْذِيرًا. Do not spend foolishly. This order is so strong that Allah says, إِنَّ الْمُبَذِّرِينَ كَانُوا إِخْوَانَ الشَّيَاطِينَ. So people who overspend, or wish to spend, they are the companions, brothers of shaitan. In fact, Allah asks us to have a discipline in spending as well. And this is a trait of believer in Surah Al-Mu'mineen. وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا أَنفَقُوا لَمْ يُسْرِفُوا وَلَمْ يَقْتُرُوا وَكَانَ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ قَوَامًا. They spend with balance. I mean, they don't do excessive spending, but they are not miser either. Right? So no extravagance, but not stingy as well. In fact, extravagance, the term used, I believe, is israf. And Allah and their ayahs, they are disturbing ayahs. Allah said, وَأَنَّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ هُمْ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ. I mean, they are the dwellers. So extravagance is to show off something. And here we are not talking about buying something, some branded things, goods, clothes, shoes, bags, whatever, because they are good, they are durable, they have the utilities, they have features which we need. No, buying something to show off is not right. Because that creates problems in the society. Allah even orders us to not to have excessive habits in eating and drinking. وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. So even eating and drinking, Allah says, no, don't be wasteful. Ibn Majah has, and Ibn Sunan Ahmad have a hadith, and they have graded it as Sahih, although Albani has graded it a bit lower, as Hasan. But since the message of the hadith, it aligns perfectly with Quran, so it's safe to share it here. Prophet was passing by Sa'ad, and we do not know which Sa'ad is it, Sa'ad bin Mu'az or Sa'ad bin Mu'az. Sa'ad bin Mu'az was very early Muslim, early day Muslim. Sa'ad bin Mu'az was much later in Medina. So Prophet passed by him while Sa'ad was making wudu. What we said, extra spending or extra. Sa'ad asked, is there israf? He was surprised. He said, is there israf in wudu? Prophet said, yes, even if you are making wudu on a river. So this tells us that, this narration, that it will make us understand the meaning of the ayah when Allah says, Allah does not like those who do israf, who do waste. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا وإياكم بما فيه من الآيات والذكر الحكيم. Let us remind ourselves with a couple more, one or two more orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala present in the Quran, but generally forgotten. Do we know that Quran even tells us how to reply to a greeting, to a salam? وَإِذَا هُيِّيتُمْ بِتَحِيَّةٍ فَحَيُّوا بِأَحْسَنَ مِنْهَا أَوْ رُدُّوهَا. And the last part is, إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَسِيبٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when you are greeted, someone greets you, then reply with better or same. So if replying with a smile or saying, waving our hand or saying hi, no, this is not enough. Allah says better or same. Of course, we can add a smile to our return. But if somebody says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, then reply cannot be wa alaikum assalam. It will fail this test, the criterion which Allah has put in Quran. It has to be same minimum, but Allah suggests to be better. And the scary part of the ayah is, Allah is even, Allah said, I've kept a log, I'm taking account of even your replies, your returns to as-salam, to a greeting. Interestingly, this ayah is from the same surah, Surah Al-Nisa, from which almost every Muslim adult, male adult, they have memorized a part of an ayah and then maybe 2, 3, 4. Right? Almost every Muslim male has memorized this ayah, this part, and ignored the first part and the last part of the same ayah, which tells who it is addressed to and what is the afterwards options. And this ayah is another topic, but it's a classical example computer science students will appreciate it. It's an if-then-else statement in a computer code. That if this, then do this, else this. But we always ignore the if part and else part, and we just say the middle part. Do. And that is not our topic here today. Here is another widely ignored order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and unfortunately even by some scholars. Allah tells Prophet alayhi salam, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. When you recite Quran, O Prophet, then seek refuge with Allah from shaitan, the cursed one. So without going into details why a prophet would need protection of Allah from shaitan, it's the prophet. He must be protected. But similar messages in various places in Quran. وَقُلْ رَبِّ أَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ هَمَزَاتِ الشَّيَاطِينِ. The prophet said, I seek refuge, I seek your protection from the hamazat of the shaitan. Hamazat is the incitements, their whispers, their temptations of shaitan. So Allah is asking the Prophet to ask for his protection from the temptations of shaitan. وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ رَبِّ أَنْ يَحْضُرُونَ. And oh Allah, I ask for your protection that the shaitan even come closer to me, that he even approaches me. So if a prophet has been instructed to ask for Allah's protection, we are thousands times much more vulnerable than any prophet. For us, it is a must to keep asking, especially while reciting Quran. And we don't have to say it loudly. We can say it with our heart, in an undertone. If forgot, we can say it whenever it comes to mind. It's a big sentence. And why is this important while reciting Quran? That shaitan could not interfere between the channel which has been established now while we read Quran between Allah's book and our heart. So he cannot distort that message. He cannot interfere and change that message. So our whole guidance will be ruined. To summarize, to sum up, no order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no matter how small it might look, it might appear, it cannot be ignored. If it is addressed to us, yes, we have to follow it, implement it, fulfill it. We must fulfill our contracts and promises to the best of our abilities. 2, wasteful spending and spending to show off is not permitted. We must implement justice, no matter where we are, at home, at work, at masjid, even traveling, or even at gym. We must always ask for Allah's protection from shaitan, especially while reciting Quran. And we must not act with laziness when replying to a greeting, replying to a salam. So, O Allah, make this year for us that we try to implement all your orders which are present in Quran and which are established through the Sunnah of the Prophet. O Allah, do not make us among those who Prophet will testify against on the Day of Judgment that these people abandoned Quran. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر. وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر. الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ولقد أرسلنا نوحا إلى قومه فقال يا قوم اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره أفلا تتقون. فقال الملأ الذين كفروا من قومه ما هذا إلا بشر مثلكم يريد أن يتفضل عليكم ولو شاء الله لأنزل ملائكة ما سمعنا بهذا في آبائنا الأولين إن هو إلا رجل به جنة فتربصوا به حتى حين. قال رب انصرني بما كذبون. فأوحينا إليه أن اصنع الفلك بأعيننا ووحينا فإذا جاء أمرنا وفارت النور فاسلك فيها من كل زوجين اثنين وأهلك إلا من سبق عليه القول منهم ولا تخاطبني في الذين ظلموا إنهم مغرقون. فإذا استويت أنت ومن معك على الفلك فقل الحمد لله الذي نجانا من القوم الظالمين وقل رب أنزلني منزلا مباركا وأنت خير المنزلين. إن في ذلك لآيات وإن كنا لمبتلين. الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. ثم أنشأنا من بعدهم قرنا آخرين فأرسلنا فيهم رسولا منهم أن اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره أفلا تتقون. وقال الملأ من قومه الذين كفروا وكذبوا بلقاء الآخرة وأطرفناهم في الحياة الدنيا ما هذا إلا بشر مثلكم يأكل مما تأكلون منه ويشرب مما تشربون ولئن أطعتم بشرا مثلكم إنكم إذا لخاسرون. أيعدكم أنكم إذا متم وكنتم ترابا وعظاما أنكم مخرجون. هيهات هيهات لما توعدون إن هي إلا حياتنا الدنيا نموت ونحيا وما نحن بمبعوثين. إن هو إلا رجل إن هو إلا رجل افترى على الله كذبا وما نحن له بمؤمنين. قال رب انصرني بما كذبون. قال عما قليل ليصبحن نادمين. فأخذتهم الصيحة بالحق فجعلناهم غثاء فبعدا للقوم الظالمين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.